Hello, hello! My name is Shalana Battles and I'm the author of 3 books, and I wanted to record kind of a different style video. I'm gonna see how it goes. All of my videos pretty much I have sat down at my desk or stood here and talked about one specific topic, but I started thinking while I was in Arizona a couple of weeks ago of kind of the direction I want this channel to go and what I want to focus on and what that's going to look like. And though I do still definitely believe there will be videos where I'm sitting down and talking about a specific topic, especially if it's writing or editing tips, because I love that so much and I love helping other writers. I really enjoy it. I've been having a lot of fun editing on Fiverr for people. And so if there's specific questions that people have or topics that people want me to talk about as an indie author or as an editor, happy to do that. Would love to do that. But I also want this channel to encompass other things. And so I thought it would be really fun to do a book haul today. So I'm going to do that from when I was in Arizona with Alexis and Stephanie, the stuff I bought while we were there. I also want to do more book club videos and hopefully be able to pull them in, because I think it's so fun to see all 3 of our perspectives and have those conversations. And we're in this like little book club we created anyway, so we're already reading and we all read a ton. And so I was laughing this morning because I finished a series. Stephanie finished the series of the book we're reading for book club. Like, she read all the books already. And Alexis finished a totally separate series. So the next time we talk, we'll have the book club book to talk about, but we'll also have all these series that we've been reading on our own. And so I think sharing some of that's going to be really fun. I've said this before, but I hesitated for a really long time about sharing my own reading experiences because I am a published author. And so I think that I was afraid of having my own opinions about books, which is silly. Like, I understand that's silly, but I know the other side of it. I have written books, I've published books, I've gone through the editing process, the publishing process, the marketing process. And it's so much, and it takes so much of a person, and like, especially at the beginning, if you're like me and I only have 3 books out. I've only been doing this, next year will be 5 years for me. And so I'm a baby in the indie publishing world. Most people that you talk to that, you know, are making 6 figures and are doing this full time, they've been in this for 15, 20, 30 years. They have put the decades in. And so when you're just starting out, trying to navigate kind of, okay, what does it look like when I'm an author and I'm marketing my own books, but I also want to talk about books I enjoy. And so for a long time, I just didn't really post very much about books. So I want to start doing that more and kind of not only step out of my comfort zone, but share that part of myself, because I read so much. And I think I've said it on another video, this will never be like a bashing channel, or you know, you're not gonna see that on like TikTok or Instagram from me. I will be honest about my opinions if I don't like a book, but that has nothing to do with the author. It's never like a personal attack on them. Like I said, I understand the craft, and so reading is so subjective. So yes, I can share if I like something or if I didn't like it, but at the end of the day, that means nothing. You could love a book that I hate, and you could hate a book that I adore. And so it's kind of just a fun thing, and I think I'm gonna approach it more that way and less technical. I'm not editing these books, I'm reading them for fun, and so we're gonna see how that goes. And I also want to talk more about the Grand Mesa Men series, because that's getting published this year. That is getting published this year. I've worked on that series for years, and so it's a spin-off of The Man Before You. I'm doing line edits right now on the first book of that, so I do want to start kind of sharing with you guys where I'm at and what that series is going to look like in the publishing process, because I think that could be helpful to people who are just starting out. And I also want this to be a place where, you know, there's a lot of authors that do stuff like this, that have YouTube channels and Patreons and Q&A sessions and writing sprints. And so for me, it's like, what can I do that will add to that? And so definitely bringing the perspective of, like I said, being very new in this industry as far as things go. A lot of the people that I follow, like I said, they've been in this so long. Their publishing process is so different than somebody just starting out. Their backlist is humongous. They have this whole other worldview. And so I'm definitely wanting to help the people who are just starting out. Maybe you don't even have a book published yet, or maybe you only have one out. And I want to... I'm out of focus. And I want to help authors kind of take that next step. What's next for you? And answer those publishing and writing and editing questions when you're very, very new to this. And so I kind of want to go more that direction. I also want to bring in this element of being a working mom, because I don't see as much of that. And if, correct me please if I'm wrong, if you know of an author that is a self-published author, an indie author who is also a mom, I know they exist. I know I'm not the only one, but I've struggled to find those people, or a parent, a dad, whatever, it doesn't matter. I've struggled to find those people that are sharing their journey online, probably because they're busy. I'm not going to share like parenting tips or lifestyle or whatever, but just kind of helping, hopefully helping people who have very busy lifestyles. Me and my husband run a business together. He has a full-time job. I do this. I'm a stay-at-home mom. We have a bajillion animals. Like, I've talked about all of that before, but I want to talk about it more because the scheduling looks different. You have to adapt to situations differently. And I follow a lot of authors who don't have kids. And so maybe I also need to shift and try to find indie authors who have kids. And so, and it doesn't make you a better writer or a worse writer, right? If you have kids, that has nothing to do with it. I'm saying the schedule and finding time to write and really kind of pushing through all these other responsibilities while you're also trying to write it's different. It's different for parents. And I want to start talking about that more because it's a totally different frame of mind, right? And I struggled with that a lot in the beginning of following all of these authors, and I've said this too, where I find them so inspirational, but they've been at it a lot longer than me, so I can't compare myself to the amount of time they've put in. It's a lot of work and a lot of time. And two, when they don't have kids, it's totally different because they can get up and get a cup of coffee and sit down and write uninterrupted, or mostly uninterrupted. You know, some people have other responsibilities, but aside from a family. But for the most part, they can do that. They're scheduling around themselves. And especially if they are an author who it is their full-time job, they're not working a full-time job and doing this on the side. They really have the freedom to do whatever they want. I've heard J.F. Penn say before, when people ask her how she does this, and and how she's so successful. She's like, well, I schedule an appointment with myself and then I keep the appointment. And so it really is that simple, but it's not if I schedule an appointment with myself and then my 2-year-old is banging on my office door. And so it's just different, and framing it is different. And I'm not, it's not any less hard. You know what I mean? This is a hard job. This is a hard thing to do, regardless of what else you have going on. It is hard. Writing is hard. Editing is hard. Publishing is hard. Building a business is hard. So I'm not saying one is above or below the other at all. I'm just saying if you're going down the path I'm going down as a parent, there are things you're going to have to do differently than a person who is single or has no kids or isn't in a relationship, doesn't have pets, doesn't work another job. You know what I mean? And so keep that in mind, because for me, I really had to start framing that for myself. When looking at people that I really look up to, and not necessarily giving myself excuses, but recognizing that my life doesn't look like their life, and that's okay. I have to find what works for me. So that's another kind of push I want on this channel. Talk about book club, talk about books, have some fun, but also really kind of get down to like scheduling and writing tips and editing, and how you do that when you're very busy, when you are a busy person. And so, and an extrovert, you know, that's the other thing. I am not an introvert, and most people in the writing community define themselves as introverts. I am not. I am very social, very outgoing. I don't mind public speaking. I don't mind being in crowds. I don't, you know what I mean? And so, that's also a different perspective. If you're a person who is high energy, how you approach this might be a little bit different as well. So, directional stuff. Now, fun stuff. So, first off, I have the best friends in the world. I've said this before. I don't deserve them at all. Compared to, oh, I'm gonna fall. Compared to Stephanie and Alexis, I'm a crappy friend. So, they went to the Tucson Book Festival, which hopefully I can go to next year. They got me this amazing little tote bag, which is adorable. I love it so much. And they got me this, which is hilarious to me because I always say F right off. I'm not gonna cuss on here, and I always say give no F's. So all the time I just kind of live in that frame of mind of like, I don't care. And so they got me that, which they know me so well. So cute. Okay, let's talk about books. First and foremost, and I showed this on our Fourth Wing video, is my special edition of Fourth Wing. So I have, yeah, you guys can see a little bit. So I have the regular one, and then I have Iron Flame, and then Stephanie got me the red one, which I'm thrilled about. She also got us some fun Fourth Wing bookmarks and stickers, and we showed those on our Fourth Wing video as well. So there's that. I'm really excited. I haven't put any of these on my bookshelf yet. I just brought another bookshelf in my office, and so I'm kind of deciding what I'm doing. Okay, and then we got this, which is a historical romance. This was our book club book last time, so we talked about this. I loved this book. I only really read historical romance when Alexis recommends a historical romance or picks one for book club. This was phenomenal, and I like dark romance, and this talks, or reads, I should say, it reads like a dark romance. So that follows the Bare Knuckle Bastards, and they kind of live outside of society, and I loved it. It was great. So if you like historical romance, or you want to try historical romance, You cannot go wrong with Sarah McLean. She's great. This is the second book in that same series, which I've read already. Also really good. I liked the first book better. So that follows Devil, this follows Wit. And I liked book 1 better, but this is so good. The end of this, great. Loved it. My only issue with this was I felt like a lot of the middle was like slower paced. But again, that's personal preference, right? Some people like slow pace, slow burns. Me, I'm like, I'm all in. Page 1, give me everything. And so, but this was really good. And I mean, she's phenomenal as far as historical romance authors go. If you're trying to get into that, start with her. Bombshell, I think Alexis had me read that before we started book club. Also great. Loved that as well. Okay. Then I got this. This is multiple books. I think it's 5. I don't know if I can, if it'll tell me in here. Let's see. Chapter 1. Does it say what it is? No. I feel like it's 5. I could be wrong though, so don't take that at my word here. Don't take me at my word. Willow Winters is someone I have followed for a long time, and I really admire the way she markets her books. She's very, very like savvy and does some cool stuff with combining books together, making series. If you follow her on TikTok, she started color coding all of her books. She's very, very smart when it comes to marketing, but I've never read anything by her. And so this is, yeah, Mafia Romance. That's what I thought, but I wanted to double check, which I know I like. I read a lot of that already. So I thought this would be a good place to start. And it has all of the books. And so I'm really excited about that. We'll have to dive into that hopefully soon. Then I got this. I've seen this book all over TikTok, and I felt like, okay, I read Fourth Wing, let's give another fantasy a try. I did not, or I don't read a lot of fantasy. Didn't before Fourth Wing. But we'll see how this goes. This is about vampires. Last time I read about vampires was Twilight, and I was in high school. And so we'll see how I feel. But I've seen a lot of like positive reviews of this. So we'll go from there. Okay. Indigo Ridge is also a book I've seen a couple of times on TikTok, but not many. But I picked it up. Oh, look, it says as seen on TikTok. I must be just missing it, my For You page. But I have seen it on there. I picked it up at Barnes & Noble. I'm really excited about it. It reads, I think, is like a romantic suspense. I might pick this. I get to pick next for book club, so I might pick this. Or I also saw The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, and 2 book talkers that I really enjoy. Highly recommend that book. So I might pick that one. I don't know. I'm still deciding. Okay, this I don't even want to put this up here, Alexis. Thanks for this. The Dragon's Bride. It's very short. I don't even know. Like, this book is, yeah, 183. I've read numbers before. 183 pages. So short. It is what it sounds like. I have read, I don't know how many books are in this series. I read 3 of them. Okay, there's a dragon one, a gargoyle one, a Kraken one. And they are what they sound like. They needed to be longer, in my opinion. Like, I wanted more story, I wanted more plot, because the background, like, to the characters is really interesting. And to both characters, like in this one, to the female lead and to the dragon male main lead. And all of these are written as though the, like, creature is mixed with humans. And so, do with that what you will. But they enter into this bargain with a demon, which is why they're all getting, like, the chance to have these women brought into their realm. And so it's two separate realms. Humans live on Earth. They live in their little world, and she includes a map. But my only issue with this is she did all this great, like, very subtle kind of hints about their background, and then the book was so fast. It was so fast. And I wanted to know more. So, I mean, there's obviously, like, smut in this, and so if that's your vibe and you want a quick read and something that's, like, very taboo, check this out because it was good. My only, like, criticism is I wish it was more. I wish it was more. I wanted to know more about their background and their character motivation, and she set this up to where, like, it had so much potential to be a longer story. That's not how she wrote it, and that's fine. That's really my only, like, kind of negative thing is I wish it was longer, which I think is also a positive thing, right? I enjoyed it. I wanted more. And okay, so these two, Alexis and Stephanie, have both already read. I have not, so I bought them so I can read them. Done and dusted. You've seen that everywhere if you follow Bookstagram and Book Talk and all that. And then Swift and Saddled is the second one. So I'm hoping to read these soon. So that is all the books I bought while I was in Arizona, which is a lot. Today I am editing Ethan's book. He is the main character in the Grand Mesa Men series. It follows Ethan and Raka, and it's a second chance romance. Yeah, and it's set here in Mesa, Colorado, and I'm doing line edits right now, and I'll talk more about my process at some point, but the short version is I finish the novel, I edit it on my computer, I print it, and I go line by line by line by line. And so now that all of the books are pretty much done, we're going through that process, and then they'll be going off to a proofreader, which I'm really excited about. That's something else I've kind of shifted with this series, and I'll talk more about that at some point. But with my first 3 books, I went through a very in-depth editing process, and I loved my editor. She was phenomenal, and I learned so much from her. So with that knowledge, and then the fact that I've been doing a lot of editing on my own, and I don't recommend, like, being the only editor for your books because you will miss things. You need other people to look at it for you. But I do think I've grown a lot, both as a writer and as an editor. And so I'm gonna go straight to proofreading instead of having kind of more of like a developmental edit. Soul Jumper was probably my most extensive. The Man Before You was still pretty in-depth. By Encampment, I was very comfortable with the process, and Laura and I kind of toned down a lot of like what I needed. But that's just because I had grown as a writer. It had been a few years, couple years. And now with where we're at, I'm like, okay. So it's hard because you do get attached to your writing. So if it's your first book, get a developmental editor, get beta readers, get people who can give you feedback. Because book 1, your strengths as a writer are gonna be nothing to book 4, book 10, book 15. You will keep growing. I'm just at a place now with this series that I've been writing it for a few years. I've been studying up and doing a lot more in the editing realm. And so I'm not skipping an editor. I'm still hiring an editor, but only for proofreading. I don't feel like it needs a developmental edit, but we'll see. We'll see what the proofreader says. She may come back and be like, this needs work. I don't think that's what will happen, but you never know. This book will still go through beta readers. I'll still get that feedback as well. So yeah, never skip editing, but I do think there are levels of editing, right? I've read stuff where it's like they need a lot of work on their plot and their structure and their timeline and their pacing and their character development. But if you're comfortable in those areas and you feel strong as a writer in those areas, which I did not with my first 2 books especially, with Soul Jumper and The Man Before You, get the developmental edit. Definitely get a copy edit if you have those questions, pacing and stuff like that, but not as heavy, you know, if you maybe have some background in writing, or you feel pretty confident in your story's kind of timeline and pace and plot and all of that, get a copy editor. They're not going to do as in-depth of an edit, but they'll still catch major plot holes and things like that. The last is what I'm doing right now, is a proofreader. They're only catching commas, spelling errors, typos. If there's something huge, glaring, then yes, I'm sure they will point out like, hey, you never answered this question, or I don't understand this, it's confusing. But that's not their job. Their job is to catch the tiny details. Because you should have caught everything else by the time it gets to them. And so if you have editing questions, please let me know and I can answer them or help you the best that I can. But don't skip on an editor, please. Get someone to edit your book. It's just a matter of how much of an edit do you think you'll need. And beta readers are a really great place to start, and they can help you with that. Or even alpha readers. If you write a first draft and you've done nothing to it, give it to some alpha readers. Or you write a first draft and you do a round of edits, give it to some beta readers and see what they tell you. If they're coming back with a lot of like confusion, then work off of their suggestions, fix those areas, and then get that developmental edit. But allow other people to kind of help you navigate what type of edit you need. But yeah, I think that's what I'm going to say today. I have to go do editing of my own, and I have client work, which I'm really excited about. Like I said, I'm having a lot of fun on Fiverr right now, and doing a lot of jobs, which has been, I love seeing what other people come up with, and then being the person to offer suggestions. I actually had a client tell me yesterday, they're like, if my questions are too much, because I turned their thing back into them, and then they kept asking me questions, and they were like, if I'm too much, like, tell me, like, shut me out, shut me down. But I love that. I love being able to take someone's story and take someone's idea and then make them feel confident about making changes, because it can be hard to let go of something that you become really attached to. But I really, really love that. So if you're looking for an editor, reach out to me. I'd love to help you. I do all of it. I'll do developmental edits, and I will, even prior to that, if you don't have a draft finished, I can answer questions. We can brainstorm, kind of be like a writing mentor if you want to bounce ideas and look at an outline, anything like that. If you have a draft and you need a developmental edit, I can do that as well. I'm in the process right now of doing a pretty big copy edit, so I can do that. I can proofread all of those things. I have a background in journalism, and I've been doing this a long time. There's not a day really that goes by that I don't edit something. An outline, a resume, a novel, whatever the case may be. And so definitely feel free to ask questions if you have editing or writing questions. because like I said, I'd really like to move this channel more toward, let's talk about the process and how to kind of get you going if you're a baby writer. You know, I don't have help for people that are making 6 figures and doing this full time. Those people don't need me. Those people need Joanna Penn. Go follow her. Follow her even if you're a baby writer. She's amazing. I cannot say that enough. Her podcast is incredible. But if you need something a little less scary, if you're just starting out and don't want to get overwhelmed, let me know if you have questions. I'm gonna go edit. I will check back in with y'all later. Have a great Monday. This is Monday, and we'll see when I post this and what other clips end up with it, and go from there.